On this Saturday night, Mark Carney's $2.5 billion pledge for Ukraine.
Good to see you, Mark. Thank you.
A show of support during a surprise meeting on Canadian soil as Russia hammers Ukraine ahead of talks in Florida.
And it's really it shows that Putin doesn't want peace.
Holiday wallop, the delays, disruptions, and looming threats as a messy winter storm bears down on millions. Plus, remembering the famed Dionne quintuplets.
That birth of the quints was like a little miracle.
The hope and heartbreak behind the miraculous five as the final sister passes away. And changing heart care in Canada.
I think that we are at the edge of a gigantic revolution.
How a robotic assistant is pushing the boundaries in cardiac care.
Global National, reporting tonight, Ann Gaviola.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Canada is pledging billions more to Ukraine as the war intensifies ahead of new peace talks with the United States. Standing with President Volodymyr Zelenskyy near Halifax, Prime Minister Mark Carney announced an additional $2.5 billion in economic aid. The pledge coming in the wake of another sleepless night for millions in Kyiv after a massive Russian attack left at least 2 dead and injured dozens. Zelenskyy says the attacks are Russia's answer to peace efforts, but a proposed path to ending the war is a top priority on this cross-Atlantic trip. Mackenzie Gray is in Halifax for the meeting. Mackenzie?
It was a last-second layover here in blustery Halifax, and for Mark Carney's third meeting with Volodymyr Zelenskyy.
Good to see you, Mark. Thank you so much.
The Prime Minister lauded his special guest.
Thank you for taking this time. This at a crucial moment in this process.
A peace process Zelenskyy is labeled as 90% of the way done to ending Russia's war in Ukraine.
Under President Zelenskyy's leadership, we have the conditions, the possibility of a just and lasting peace. But that requires a willing Russia.
A commitment Russia seems unlikely to make. While Zelenskyy was flying to Canada, Kyiv was inundated with missiles and drones, an attack Carney labeled as barbaric, with residential buildings as the target, killing 2 and injuring over 30.
This attack is, again, Russia's answer on our peace efforts, and it's really it shows that Putin doesn't want peace, and we want peace.
Zelenskyy's visit was planned in less than a day, and it was quick. On the ground for under 2 hours, with only 10 minutes spent one-on-one with Carney, before the pair had an hour-long video meeting with European allies, all done to show support ahead of Zelenskyy's meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump on Sunday. Trump has slashed Ukrainian aid dramatically, leaving Carney to take the opposite approach.
We're announcing today further economic assistance for Ukraine, $2.5 billion worth of economic assistance.
That money will be used to help with loans at the International Monetary Fund and World Bank, as well as rebuild Ukraine's energy sector.
Dear Mark, Prime Minister, dear journalists, dear Canada, thank you for your support, first of all.
While Zelenskyy was thankful, he's still hoping Canadian and European allies will give more.
Last weeks we had good steps in diplomacy, but we can't live in the illusion that it gives us possibility to have less air defense.
Zelenskyy will now head to Florida for that meeting with Donald Trump, and one that he says he hopes will be important and constructive.
Mackenzie Gray in Halifax. Thank you. In northern Alberta, 2 people were killed in what police are calling a targeted attack. RCMP arrested a 42-year-old man they believe was involved after issuing a dangerous person alert across the region. It happened this morning northwest of Grand Prairie. Authorities have not released further information about the victims or a possible motive. The RCMP says 19 migrants of Haitian origin were intercepted on Christmas Day after crossing illegally into Quebec from the U.S. in extreme cold. Mounties say officers found the group hiding in the woods near Havoc, south of Montreal, after being alerted by U.S. Border Patrol. 8 people were taken to hospital, 6 for frostbite, including 2 young children. RCMP say all have applied for asylum, and 1 man was arrested at the scene. Winter storms that have been sweeping across eastern Canada and the Maritimes are also wreaking havoc across parts of the eastern U.S. The system is threatening to disrupt holiday plans for millions of travelers. Candice Cole reports from Washington.
From coast to coast, winter storms are pummeling the United States. A state of emergency declared in New York as the tri-state area grapples with the worst snowfall it's seen in 3 years. 17 to 25 centimeters of snow dumped here on Long Island.
I mean, we get hit like, what, once a winter bad, so you just get out and shovel, get it done, and it's over.
As homeowners on Long Island cleared their driveways, kids in New York's Central Park took full advantage of the snow day, while some travelers in the region navigated flight disruptions, as area airports report flight delays up to 28%, according to flight tracking site FlightAware. Nearly 900 flights were canceled overall in the U.S. on Saturday.
Our flight got delayed, and we just had to rebook, and we took about an hour to figure out how we were going to get here, and we made it. Yeah, so we took the first flight out this morning.
While over on the West Coast, some parts of Nevada saw upwards of 1 meter of snow over the last 72 hours, according to the National Weather Service. And California battered with 3 days of heavy rains, with downpours up to 450 millimeters in some areas, causing mudslides in the southern part of the state, interrupting the holiday cheer.
So it was a bit of a surprise when we got it to celebrate Christmas, and we can't even make coffee.
And it's not over. As icy conditions in the Midwest and parts of Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic Canada are set to get even worse overnight with the arrival of Winter Storm Ezra on Sunday, set to bring cold, gusty winds across the region and the Great Lakes, and freezing rain, snow, and sleet in the Northeast. Candice Cole, Global News, Washington.
The last surviving member of the Dionne quintuplets has died. Annette Dionne passed away on Christmas Eve at the age of 91 in Montreal. She and her sisters became a global sensation following their 1934 birth as the first quintuplets known to survive past infancy. But as Eric Sorensen reports, that notoriety came at a personal cost.
They were tiny at birth, but all 5 newborns survived. It was unheard of. The Dionne quintuplets from rural northern Ontario became celebrities around the world. Even their doctor, Alan Defoe, became a household name.
These children from birth were fed on human milk.
From Callander, Ontario.
In the depths of the Depression, the public was fascinated by any news at all of these remarkable children.
Annette leads her sisters indoors. These pictures are the first of the girls walking by themselves.
That birth of the quints was like a little miracle during that time in the 30s, when people were slogging off and barely able to feed themselves. This gave them some hope that there was a future.
Versions of their story were told by Hollywood and in storybooks. The Dionnes at school, as teenagers, as singing quintuplets to help the Canadian government sell war bonds. What the public did not know was the hardship. The quints were taken from their parents and made wards of the provincial government. Returned years later, they said they suffered abuse at home, too. They were exploited for much of their lives, eventually demanding restitution from the Ontario government.
We want only what was taken from us for having been kidnapped from our parents for 9.5 years.
The government of Mike Harris offered them each $2,000 a month, but under public pressure agreed to pay a lump sum of $4 million. Their story, the good and the bad, is told at the Dionne Quints Museum in North Bay. Their legacy includes the rights that the quintuplets fought for children, for parents.
The Dionne family didn't have that freedom to maintain and keep their children. So you get to see how government can overstep its powers, and in that case, that was very dramatic.
Cecile Dionne died last summer, just months before Annette. The last surviving quintuplets were 91, marking the end of an era about 5 of the most famous Canadians in this country's history. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
Alberta's premier may have reset her government's relationship with Ottawa this year, but national unity may still be under threat. There will likely be at least 1, possibly 2 referendums on Alberta separation held in the province in 2026. As Heather Yurex-West explains, if that happens, it could lead to a messy fight.
Do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada? This is a question that we want on the referendum.
It was an initiative aimed at battling back against Alberta's separatists. In 3 months, the Forever Canadian campaign collected the signatures of almost 500,000 Albertans, surging past the 300,000 required.
Feels good. Feels good. I'm so proud of Albertans.
But petition proponent Thomas Lukaszuk, a former Progressive Conservative deputy premier, says an actual referendum was never the goal. Instead, he had hoped the Alberta government would see the response to his petition as a sign that Albertans wanted to put the issue to bed.
Since then, things have changed. It appears that the premier seems to be very sympathetic to the separatist cause, and we may end up having a separatist referendum anyhow.
What does next year have in store for you?
Next year is going to be busy, right?
Lawyer Jeff Rath is ready to campaign for an independent Alberta in 2026. His group's petition for a referendum asking, do you agree that the province of Alberta should cease to be a part of Canada to become an independent state, has just been approved by Elections Alberta. Beginning January 2nd, the group has 120 days to collect 177,000 signatures if they want the question to be put to a vote.
I'm hoping that we can convince at least 60% of our fellow citizens to leave Canada. I think the financial case for it is incredibly strong.
My research indicates that over the past 6 or 7 years, separatist sentiment has remained pretty steady. You can get anywhere between 18 and 23% of people telling you they agree with the notion of separatism, depending on how you ask the question.
But within the United Conservative Party, President Rob Smith has estimated support is as high as 75%, which may explain why the Premier's Memorandum of Understanding with Ottawa on energy policies was met with boos at our party's recent AGM.
Now is not the time to give up the fight.
Well, I did get 7 standing ovations in my main speech, too. I noticed that didn't get reported, but there are still some fights to have with Ottawa.
Smith's support of a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada is a source of frustration for both Lukaszuk and Rath. The Premier entering the new year walking a careful line with campaigns on either side of the separation question ready to go. Heather Yurex West, Global News, Calgary.
A ceasefire between Thailand and Cambodia. Coming up, fragile peace after weeks of deadly fighting between the neighboring nations. Defense ministers from Thailand and Cambodia have signed a ceasefire agreement to end a series of deadly clashes along their disputed border this month. Violence between the Southeast Asian nations resumed in December following an earlier truce in July. Redmond Shannon now on what's next for hundreds of thousands of displaced residents.
In a tent set up at the Thai-Cambodian border, the two countries' defense ministers signed, or rather effectively re-signed, a peace deal. It brings to an end almost 3 weeks of deadly fighting over their disputed border, in which soldiers and civilians were killed. Both defense ministers said they hope this ceasefire will last, unlike the previous deal which Washington helped broker in July, following days of intense fighting. Under the terms of this truce, after 3 days, 18 captive Cambodians held by Thailand since July will be returned. And hundreds of thousands of displaced civilians can also go home. Many of these Cambodian people say they are glad they can go back to normal life. But this man says he's worried the deal favours Thailand. Equally, this Thai man in Bangkok says he doesn't trust Cambodia. Both sides had blamed each other for the resumption of hostilities this month. The border is particularly contentious because a number of sacred temples sit along the remote and mountainous frontier. The century-old dispute has its roots in European colonialism and the conflicting and ambiguous maps that were made at the end of that era. Saturday's agreement also requires both sides to refrain from propaganda and, quote, fake news, and to shut down cyber scam call centres inside their borders. They also pledged to remove landmines and to use their joint boundary commission to peacefully and finally resolve the conflict. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
Ahead, the lessons learned after a year marked by the devastating fires across Southern California. This week's atmospheric river storm has added to what was already a devastating year of natural disasters in the LA area. Last January, multiple wildfires, including the Palisades and Eaton fires, leveled entire communities. Neetu Garcha was deployed into the fire zone at the time and looks back on how it unfolded and what we can learn from the tragedy.
The holidays look different this year in the foothills of Los Angeles. This home builder lost her house in the Eaton fire. She's among the first to move back to the area. It's a symbol of what's possible in a year defined by what was lost.
I fight back to my house. When I design a new house, the first thing I think about, I need a metal roof.
The disaster began on January 7th. A large plume of dark smoke swelled in the sky. Within hours, entire neighborhoods were forced to flee.
It is like driving through hell.
Driven by months of drought and historic Santa Ana winds strong enough to flip trucks, a small brush fire in the Pacific Palisades rapidly spread.
We saw some literally flaming debris landed in the road.
Fires were this close to the cars. People left their cars on Palisades Drive.
Hours later, in the canyons above Pasadena, the Eaton fire ignited in the middle-class and culturally vibrant community of Altadena.
You gotta get everybody out of here.
Thousands fled. Some only had one road out.
This fence caught on fire.
This man defied evacuation warnings and made a dangerous attempt to save his home. He says jumping in his pool saved his life.
So the flames were coming this way. See? So maybe that's how I got burned, because I was sitting here like this.
Has it hit you that you may not have survived this fight?
No.
Critical water supplies failed at the worst possible moment. A nearly 450 million liter reservoir in the Palisades dry for maintenance left firefighters without a major source, leading to significant controversy, multiple investigations, and lawsuits.
The LA County water system is ready and it will be prepared to assist us in fighting a wildland fire.
By February, when the final hectare was contained, an estimated 16,000 structures were gone. At least 30 lives were confirmed lost, with a death toll believed to be much higher due to smoke exposure, air pollution, and disruptions in healthcare.
What's it like for you to be back right now to see this?
Oh, I'm just really, really glad to come and see it in person. You know, we're just seeing a lot of pictures and just thinking of everything that we left in there.
By October, there was an arrest. This 29-year-old man charged with destruction of property by means of fire, accused of setting a fire that would merge with the larger blaze.
During his interview, he lied about where he was when he first saw the Lockman fire.
Mark Healy, a Canadian firefighter who spent 11 days assisting crews in Los Angeles, says the experience reinforced that preparation, including fire-smart homes, can save lives, especially as climate change fuels more severe wildfires.
It wasn't just, a forest fire. It was a fire that, it impacted, a major metropolitan area. And that really struck home, I think, for all of us. So we tweaked what we learned from our partners there in CAL FIRE, and it's really helped us, develop strategies and tactics that are beneficial, when there is limited water supplies.
Federal crews have removed millions of tons of ash, metal, and toxic debris, but for thousands of families, the real work of rebuilding is just beginning, with fire-resistant designs learned through loss.
The fire took our house, but it really didn't destroy the community.
A small sign of hope in a region still working to rise from the ashes. Neetu Garcha, Global News, Vancouver.
Next, the Da Vinci Touch, a special robot to assist with heart surgery, offering patients less pain and a faster recovery. With every year that passes, more Canadian hospitals are embracing the use of robotics to enhance surgical programs and improve the quality of care patients receive. Catherine Ward reports on a world first at St. Michael's Hospital in Toronto and what the future could hold for this technology.
I think that we are at the edge of a gigantic revolution in cardiac surgery in Canada.
One small incision at a time. Dr. Gianluigi Bislari and Dr. Daniel Burns are pushing the boundaries of what their cardiac robotic surgery program can accomplish. These surgeons have been leveraging their skills alongside the power of a Da Vinci surgical robot to do minimally invasive heart surgery in different ways.
We also have done things like benign tumors of the heart, valve repairs, ablations.
Just months after the program kicked off, the team has a new milestone under their belt.
We were able to perform a first-in-the-world procedure to fix what we call a congenital heart disease.
This particular condition is known as cor triatriatum.
In this case, there is this abnormality is the presence of a membrane inside, which actually creates a second chamber inside the heart. By having this membrane, blood tends to struggle to move forward and therefore sits longer in the lungs and make the patients unwell.
Patients can go for ages without knowing anything, but eventually you hit a point where you start to elicit symptoms.
Doctors say there are advantages to using a minimally invasive surgical approach.
One is the overall reduction in potential risk of complications from the surgery in terms of wounds or other kind of complications, and number two, the faster recovery.
Patients who have robotic surgery can often go back to normal activities within 10 days, compared to conventional surgery, which could be 6 to 8 weeks. The future could also result in better access to care.
We know that in more remote areas in rural Ontario, for example, access to specialty care is that much more challenging. But if you really look at the advancement that can happen, where the professional could be located in Toronto and the procedure could be happening in Northern Ontario.
We are not focusing on one procedure. We are really already having a quite large breadth of procedure, and we already have many others in the pipeline in the upcoming months.
Catherine Ward, Global News, Toronto.
And that is Global National for this Saturday night. I'm Ann Gaviola. Tonight's Your Canada is Richmond, British Columbia. We love seeing Your Canada. Please keep emailing your photos to globalnational@globalnews.ca. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you'll join us again tomorrow. Have a great night.